Hello YouTube, my name is Nero and today we have some Call of Duty 4 playing a bit of domination here on the map Overgrown using the golden AK-47. And kind of a fun fact for you guys before we get into the video is Overgrown here was actually the first map that they recreated in Modern Warfare Remastered. It was the first time they started messing around with the lighting and the textures and the sound and the wind and everything. It was this map that they started on, so I'm definitely interested to see what this map is going to look like in Modern Warfare Remastered. But today what we're going to be discussing is actually a number of changes that Raven Software has made to the game as a result of fan feedback. So at Call of Duty XP this year, fans were able to get a hands-on experience with Modern Warfare Remastered, but more importantly, they were able to post their footage to YouTube. So players like you and I are able to see the game for what it actually is. We were able to see a lot of the weapons and the maps and perks and the UI and kill streaks. We've seen a lot of what this game actually has to offer. And naturally, we're going to be prone to give feedback on what we've seen so far. And a lot of that feedback has been positive. Most of the stuff I've seen so far online has just been overwhelmingly positive, but there has been some negative feedback from what we've seen so far from Modern Warfare Remastered. And what Raven Software is doing is they're listening to this feedback and they're making changes to the game. Now, as we all know, as super fans of the Call of Duty franchise, it's the little things that developers add to a game or remove from a game that can turn a good experience into a great experience. That's why Raven is making a number of tiny tweaks and changes that I believe will make Modern Warfare Remastered the game that we all hoped for. Now, you may have heard already about some of the things I'm going to be covering here in this video, but what Raven's been doing over the past couple of weeks is they are just releasing changes and information bit by bit, and instead of making a bunch of 2-minute videos covering a single tweet or something like that, I decided to compile a bunch of it here in this video. Let's start things off here by discussing the headshot and knife icons in the kill feed. Modern Warfare Remastered has borrowed a lot of assets from Advanced Warfare, including these two kill feed designs. Fans saw this, we asked for the icons to be replaced with the original icons, and Raven Software is doing exactly that. So this is actually the headshot icon from both Modern Warfare Remastered as well as Advanced Warfare. They're the same icon, and this is what the headshot icon looked like back in Call of Duty 4. The COD 4 icon is the one we're going to be getting, and I think that's a big improvement. It's so good looking. It's fantastic. I love the COD 4 icon. I'm happy to see it back, and the same thing goes with the knife. This is the knife icon that we saw in Modern Warfare Remastered as well as Advanced Warfare, and this is the knife icon that we have in Call of Duty 4. We're getting the COD 4 one back, and I could not be more happy. This is actually one of the things I talked about. Like, as soon as I started watching gameplay, it was one of the first things I talked about. It was like a headshot icon, knife icon. We need to fix these things, and they're going ahead and doing that, and I could not be happier. Sound is definitely one of the most underappreciated aspects of Call of Duty games, right? No one really talks about sound whatsoever, but I think that we all had a collective mini heart attack when we heard how awful the sounds were in the Modern Warfare Remastered multiplayer gameplay trailer. But we were all relieved to see that these sounds were actually exclusive to the trailer and they weren't actually present in the game. But still, the sounds that the weapons make, and you can see this for yourself on YouTube, or I guess you can hear it for yourself on YouTube just by looking up some Modern Warfare Remastered gameplay with no commentary. A lot of the weapons sound off, and a lot of people are saying that. It's not just me. And Raven Software understands where we're coming from. That is why they're working to make a lot of the weapons in the game more accurately resemble how they sounded back in Call of Duty 4, and specifically, they've already talked about the Barrett 50 cal, the M40A3, the RPD, as well as the Desert Eagle. I really hope they work on the AKs. You know, the AK-47 and the 74U, for me, they just sound too off. They don't sound anything like the original to me, so I'm hoping they work on those ones as well, but they are working to make a lot of the weapon sounds more accurately resemble what they sounded like back in Call of Duty 4. They're also working on the announcer voices for the various factions in the game, which I think everybody is thankful for. I mean, if you guys heard the Op4 voice from what we saw at COD XP, it was so terrible. It was so annoying to listen to, honestly. And speaking of Op4, they're giving the Op4 sniper character his mustache back. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. He's getting back his mustache. There is no detail, too little, for Raven Software to work on right now, and I'm so happy that they're actually taking the time to listen to the community. I mean, usually, when you give these little tiny suggestions like this to game developers, they're usually just going to overlook them. Like, if we were to say to Treyarch, like, hey, could you guys, like, add a mustache to this character? He used to have a mustache, now he doesn't. They're like, we don't care about that. They're usually thinking about more important things, like weapon balance and spawn logic. But since these factors maps are just being copied over from a near 10-year-old game, Raven Software has all the time in the world to just listen to even the smallest suggestions, and they're actually making changes to the game as a result. Now, what I wanted to do with the rest of the video here is actually give a few suggestions that I have for Modern Warfare Remastered, and I would love to hear your thoughts and your suggestions down there in the comment section below. The first suggestion that I have is I would like for Raven Software to reconsider adding halftime to domination. I just don't like having halftime. That's not what it was like back in Call of Duty 4, and it derails momentum completely for either side. I think the reason why it's there is it helps out competitive, but here's a couple of scenarios for you guys. Picture a scenario where Team A is just beating up on Team B. Halftime happens, it just breaks all the momentum, things suddenly slow down. No longer are they beating up on Team B, but rather they have to go reacquire their flags and reset up everything. It just kills momentum. I don't like that. And I think people do like that because it gives Team B a chance to come back. But here's another scenario. Imagine Team A is beating up on Team B, but Team B is rallying a comeback. They've got back to B flag. They're holding it down. They have been holding it for a couple of minutes, and things are looking really good for Team B. Suddenly, we have halftime. And that just kills all the comeback momentum that Team B actually had. Suddenly, both teams have to capture their back flag. They meet back in the middle. Team A kills off Team B. Now suddenly, Team B is right back where they were before they were mounting their comeback. They probably would have held the game and probably would have gotten the comeback if they didn't have that halftime. So I do like the fact that Modern Warfare Remastered, while it does have a halftime, it doesn't have a time limit like we saw in Black Ops 2, but I would like to see the halftime for domination just go away completely. You can make the argument that halftime is more competitive, but Call of Duty 4 was one of the most competitive Call of Duty games to date that had a thriving competitive community, and domination didn't have a halftime back then. My second suggestion is actually to include old school mode. Now, I've talked about this a bunch, so I'm not going to reiterate all that here in this video. If you guys would like to learn more, feel free to click the annotation on your screen. You guys can watch my video on old school mode, but I'm hoping that this is actually going to be in Modern Warfare Remastered. I've tweeted to Raven Software's lead designer, but I haven't gotten an answer. I haven't heard one way or the other yet, so I'm just fingers crossed, hoping old school mode is going to be in the game. My third suggestion is for Raven Software to give us an option to toggle medals. Now, I've never personally been a giant fan of medals in the Call of Duty franchise. I've never really liked what they stood for. They're kind of just like a participation award that just says, hey, you did a thing, here's a medal. They're designed to make the player feel like they're doing more than they actually are, kind of similar to when they increased the score numbers back in Modern Warfare 2. I would also like to see that reverted in Modern Warfare Remastered, but I think I've talked about that a number of times so far, so I'm not going to include it here in this video. But I don't need a bloodthirsty medal when I'm on a 5 kill streak. I have an airstrike to let me know that I'm on a 5 kill streak. I understand that some people like medals, and I know some people like bigger numbers, but for me personally, I would like to have smaller numbers again, like we saw in Call of Duty 4, and I would like to have an option to toggle medal notifications in Modern Warfare Remastered. There are countless other minor improvements that Call of Duty has made over the years that I would like to see added to Modern Warfare Remastered as well, like lobby leaderboards, access to everything in private matches, a better spectator mode, more custom classes if you prestige, because bear in mind, back in COD 4, you had a total of 5 custom classes no matter what prestige you were. They actually started adding in more classes for prestiging in World at War. So in COD 4, even as a 10th prestige, like I have like 70 days of playtime in COD 4, 5 custom classes, that's all I have. So I would like to see some of this stuff actually added, because if you talk to like a modern day Call of Duty fan and say, oh yeah, no, lobby leaderboards, yeah, no, we didn't have those. No, we don't have any of those. Access to everything in private matches? Oh no. Oh, come on. Access to everything? I remember back in COD 4, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about, how domination and how they actually had like a thriving competitive scene back in the day. I was playing game battles back in Call of Duty 4, but I did not know we were actually going to be playing game battles that night, so I had prestiged. And so I go into a GB match at level 3, and therefore I only had access to the default classes, the 3 default classes, like the Assault, the Spec Ops, and like the Light Machine Gun classes. That's like all I could use, right? And so I'm running around with the default MP5 class, Sonic Boom and all, and we actually won that game. Actually, I think I carried that match as well. I remember specifically because it was so weird that everyone else has Dead Silence and stuff like that in Search and Destroy, and I'm running around with like Steady Aim and Sonic Boom. But yeah, you didn't have access to everything in private matches. You had access to what you had in the actual multiplayer. So little quality of life improvements. That's what I hope to see in Modern Warfare Remastered, as well as some bigger things like reverting the numbers back, adding in a toggle medals button. I would like to have old school mode be there. I would like for halftime to be removed from domination. But those are just my thoughts, and I would love to hear what changes you guys would make to Modern Warfare Remastered down there in the comment section below. That, ladies and gentlemen, is going to conclude the video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Drop me a rating. Hope you guys all Have a wonderful day.